welcome to another solo encoded tutorial, or video, I would say. It's pretty late right now. I'm just getting ready to go to bed, but I thought I'd make a quick video on my resumes. So some of you guys have asked me about what my resume looked like when I finished my bootcamp, and so a brief background: I've been working as a program manager for quite a bit at a hardware company, about 5 years before I decided to make a jump. And I briefly worked as an accountant as my first job out of college. I made 2 resumes right when I graduated from my bootcamp, one of which I worked on while I was at the bootcamp, and then the other pretty much right after I finished, because I found that the first resume didn't work as well. And I kind of want to go over that, go over a little bit of my thoughts on why I made my resume a certain way and what allowed me to essentially get noticed, get through those like automated parsers and things of that nature. So without further ado, let's dive into my resume. My first resume, I decided that I wanted to make a website out of the resume. So basically it has just some personal information at the top. It has a personal statement, some of the skills. I actually really like this like React animation. This actually came with the boilerplate React. I just kind of stole it and put it in here with the other things I learned from my bootcamp. And then here, one thing you'll notice is that though I went to a 4-year university, I went to UC Santa Cruz for economics, but I didn't highlight that at the top. I highlighted all these projects that I worked on. So, and as you can see, these little achievement icons, those are basically hackathon wins. And I believe I added links to all of these. Let me see if they're still deployed. So it looks like, so this is one of the apps that I won for TechCrunch Disrupt. And this hackathon was actually really cool. It was one of my favorite hackathons. I worked on the back end and also this front end for the website. And one of my other friends made the iOS app, and another friend kind of went all around and did a lot of other stuff. It was a pretty cool, fun project. I could talk about it more in details in another time. We had another project called the Watch. I don't know if it's still deployed. It looks like it is. So this is a project that I made to help prevent suicide. My friends and I, we kind of did this in a day, where it was this whole idea that we're parsing, oh wait, I forgot. There's a very cool, we added this little bubble, and it's actually supposed to automatically take us down, but it didn't do that. I think that particular plugin is broken or something like that. But when you clicked on it, you were able to go down. Man, the CSS is a little broken too. But this is using Mapbox, and basically we're saying that we grabbed a bunch of tweets from, we grabbed a bunch of tweets with just like in the San Francisco Soma district area, and then we parsed them and gave them an emotion based on IBM Watson. So that's this little thing right here. You know, recent tweets obtained through Twitter API, IBM Watson, and then we filter it through IBM Watson's personal like tonal analyzer. And then we actually read some research paper on how certain tweets affect like people, certain keywords have a correlation to suicide. So we did this filter, and the whole idea was that we wanted to create this live watch list of people that may or may not be at risk for suicide. So that was kind of the idea. And yeah, so it's like, this was pretty cool. One of my friends did this animation. But yeah, we had a bunch of stuff going here. I remember we even integrated Twilio at some point. But yeah, so those are some of the projects I did. So we also did this called the Partner. Basically the Partner was our final project, and it looked like this. I don't think we ever got it deployed, but it had a lot of interesting graphs, and we did a lot. We used D3 and charts JS, and all of these were animated in, and this was a bubble chart. So we did that. That was a very fun project. And Here's novelist, I don't know. But basically, I had a lot of projects. And that was kind of the big key point that I want to get at. As a challenge for you guys right now, I want you guys to, if you're really thinking about becoming a software engineer, I want you guys to sit down and start writing your resume as if you're already a software engineer. And see how much of the page can you fill up. Can you fill up an entire page? Well, for me, it wasn't like that until I really started making these projects. So this project that you see is it's actually one of my favorite projects. It is deployed, and I had another friend who designed some of these logos, but I kind of designed this entire page based off of Instagram a little bit. Looks like some of the styling is off, but yeah, basically this was so you could log in. So the whole story of this app, The Novelist, was that you could basically start a story. You could create a new story. Let me actually try creating a new story. You could create a new story. You could enter a title like My New Story. And then you could click on this image thing, and then you could like search an image. So let's say cats. And then at the time I had it hooked up to, this is so awesome that it's still working. It's been a year, I haven't touched it. But basically I'm pulling live images from a service called Unsplash, which I get a lot of my free images. So we could say computers maybe. Yeah, and I had this is jQuery, by the way. This is just using Rails and jQuery. So yeah, it's pretty impressive JavaScript stuff. So yeah, so basically you could create your own story. I love writing stuff. And then you submit this story, and what happens is it creates one story, a universal story, where other people can add to it, essentially. And basically this will be updated at 11:40, so at every 20-minute period, a new story, the next, basically it's like a Reddit vote. So let me show you one that is already kind of done. And if you log in, you can see that this one has like stories here, like already. And you can read the whole thing by clicking this. But the whole idea is you could say, hello there, and then you could submit a story, basically a post, and then, okay, so I gotta do it one more time. That was a little bug. Hello there. And when you submit it, you get this like Reddit-like vote. And the whole idea was, for that 20 minutes, people could suggest the next part of the story. And then whoever was at the top of that vote, whoever had the highest vote at that particular time when this was updated, that will get added to the next part of the story. So this is Novelist, one of my favorite little projects that I did. So I did this in like 3 days, I want to say. And then I had to move. I had like a lot of ambitions for this. I wanted to add Facebook integration, and you'd be able to share stories. This is a project called Foodie that I did for TechCrunch. I didn't win this TechCrunch, but I made this app called Foodie where you could swipe left to right. It's like Tinder for food. So I digress a little bit. There's a lot of projects that I worked on, but basically I highlighted my projects first and I added links to them. And this really helped me kind of get noticed very quickly. But there was an issue with my resume, and the biggest issue with this resume was that it wasn't very easy to parse through. So I didn't have enough keywords, I didn't have enough useful information that like HR people needed to see. I thought this was a very pretty website, and it's one of my favorite looking little pages that I made at the time. I made it in like a day. And I had, I personally really liked it, but it didn't end up working. So let me quickly show you guys my other resume. that I have that ended up giving me a lot more interest. So here it is, a lot more boring, right? It's like, it's one of those standard resumes that you'll see, but it had all the right things. It had a really good summary to begin with, and my whole strategy for when I went to my bootcamp was I want to go there, I'm going to go to hackathons, I'm going to try to win at least one. I ended up winning all 3 of the hackathons that I went to. We won like $20,000 worth of prizes, and it just made a very good, just like a very good opener when I wanted to send like a cold email to someone, when I wanted to say, hey, like, check me out, I know what I'm doing. It was almost like a no-brainer for some of these people to at least give me a try. At least give me that initial, like, hey, sure, I'll grab a coffee with you. Hey, sure, I'll look at your resume. Just by being able to say that. So the number one tip I will say is do something, like try your best and to do something that will stand out in some way. For me, it was hackathons. Maybe for you, it could be contributing to a very prominent open source. For example, if you become one of the regular contributors to React or Angular or any of the largest JavaScript libraries, even Vue.js, which is very popular, then that's something that you could just say. Or maybe you organize a very successful meetup and you do a lot of speaking engagements. That's something that you could say, like you could stand out that way. So there's many ways to stand out, but just know that you're gonna need something like this, something kind of extraordinary if you want to really be like picked up quickly. Because you know, everyone will say that the software engineering market right now is like super hot and super and everyone, like, it's so easy for software engineers to find work. That's somewhat true. That is true, but it's mainly true for experienced engineers. So that's the one bit that they kind of left out in the marketing for all these boot camps and things like that. It's mainly, it's super easy for software engineers. If you're a senior software engineer, it's pretty easy to get an interview and get hired, you know, within a month or 3 months or whatever. But yeah, let's look at some of this a little bit. So down here for skills, I added more skills that were more, you know, prominent. I kind of split it out into 3 categories: proficient in, exposure to, and other like kind of soft skills. By the way, soft skills is probably the most underrated skills as a software engineer, and I'll talk more about this in another video. But yeah, so I did that, and I put my hackathon's wins into an award, and I kind of broke down the awards. I talked about my employment briefly here, and I also added this brief software engineering internship that I had with a friend who owns his own software company in Korea. I did that for a little bit, and then again, my whole entire right side is just projects, and then I added way more information about exact specific details of the things that I did. So for example, for the Secret Club, I created the backend Rails API, I integrated with IBM Watson, integrated with Esri. I also made, you know, the assets and designs. I made the landing page, like all these things. And oh yeah, the partner, I led front-end development with React and Redux, created strong data viz with Chart.js, D3, Mapbox, you know. We try to do, so this is a little bit, we try to do TDD a little bit at first, and then we kind of stopped. But we ended up testing some stuff. So yeah. So one thing I think I mentioned in one of my testing videos is that when you're starting out building things like this, it's hard to know what to test and what good tests are. So that's one topic. That was actually an interesting thing for me when I was interviewing with my other projected companies. That was always my quote-unquote weakness when I went in, because that's a pretty important question that people will ask you. Like they'll say, so what do you think is your biggest weakness? So my answer at the time was, because I'm coming from this kind of non-technical background, I've been self-studying for like 3 years. I just finished my boot camp. I have all these hackathon wins. I have all these projects that you are deployed and you could check out. But the number one thing that I had issues with is because I didn't really know what I needed to test, because most of these projects that I did, you know, lasted for a few weeks at most, and I moved on. And it was mainly for me to get used to the tools and learning about all these new technologies, but I've never been on a project that was really long-term and maintainable. And that was okay because the positions I was going for was entry level, but it was definitely an honest answer at the time, and it showed that I was very self-aware of where I am, what I needed to improve on, but at the same time I was very confident in other bits like my skills in JavaScript, my CSS skills, my soft skills as a program manager, so things like that. But yeah, so notice here my education portion was really small. Like even the fact that I went to this my boot camp, I put very small, because in the end what really matters is what you can show. And going to a boot camp, just like going to a 4-year university or community college or anything like that, it's just kind of on paper saying that you can maybe do this. You have to really show the code in a way. You have to show the code. You have to show the projects. You have to really portray that you really want this. This is kind of what you do. This is the reason why this jump makes sense, is because you're doing this anyways without, you know, all this extra push from like school or family or whatever. You just love building these things, you know. So number one thing that will help you get a job is to have code that's somewhere deployed, and a project that you're proud to show off. I mean, these projects right now, they're kind of old, but I'm still proud to show them, you know. They're probably, like, most of these don't work anymore, like functionally anymore, but they're all very, I think, pretty. They're pretty, and at the time, I could explain exactly, like when I look at this project, I could explain exactly what were the problems that I faced, how do I solve them, and things of that nature. So yeah, sorry, like I'm going back and forth between this. It's probably not the best, but I'll link. You guys can feel free to add me on LinkedIn, and my resume is on LinkedIn. This is pretty old. I need to update it. I just got promoted. I don't have any of my certificates on here, like my AWS certificate or my nano degree from Udacity. Yeah, there's so much more to add. But it goes to show that the more I thought I had enough, I was able to add an entire page. You know, this is pretty packed. But now I have even more experience to add onto this, and it's kind of crazy to think about that I've come so far in such a short time. I just want to leave you guys with this a little bit. There'll be times when you're going through this where it will feel like it's taking forever. And there'll be times when you're learning and you'll feel like you're stuck. You'll feel like you're not smart enough. You'll feel that maybe this is just not for you. And you know, some people it might be true. But if there's any like small inkling, if there's any like little thing that keeps bringing you back to this, then I recommend you guys go for it. Because it took me like 2 to 3 times to try programming and quitting, try programming and quitting, until I got into it, until I sat down and said, you know what, I'm gonna give this a go, a real shot. And I got disciplined and I started coding every day. Like I did the 100-day coding challenge where I did 1 commit a day. So I did that, and then after that initial
you know, tough time, I got to a point where I enjoyed every single minute of programming and coding. Even now, it's so, I feel so lucky and blessed that I get to code for a living. I get to make beautiful and meaningful things for a living. And it just, you know, it just hits you in the right spots. But yeah, that's honestly all I want for all of you guys, people that are watching this channel. I just want you guys to put your heart and soul into something that you love. And if you're on this channel, hopefully that's coding. But yeah, I hope you guys find that passion as well. But yeah, that's it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a quick one, not my usual coding videos, but I've been really swamped at work, so I thought this would be a perfect way to fill end this particular week off. So enjoy this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.